Hi everyone, this is David from Hotspawn. Today we're joined by G2's head coach Dylan Falco after their dominant series against MKOI in the upper bracket of the LEC Versus Playoffs. So first of all, congrats on the victory. That was quite a series, I must say. What are your thoughts on the match? And I also kind of wanted to ask you, like G2 has looked way stronger in the past few matches compared to the regular season. What magic did you do to the team?
Um, well, I think our roster and players have always been very strong. I think we made every finals with this roster and we won the last split and summer split. So I think as much as we were one game away from not making playoffs, we were also 2 games away from first place. It was just a very volatile, I think, split for us. I think we really focused a bit more on our drafting to make more solid choices. I think that was probably the biggest change. And other than that, there's just the usual kind of ramping up of practice into playoffs.
What were some of the things that you guys worked on the most in the past 2 months?
In the past 2 months, I think we've been working a lot on, I think like utilizing the range support games better. We've been looking a lot on how we team fight around objectives, how we position our characters. Um, we've been looking a lot at like enabling mid lane. These are things I guess we're like always looking at because as much as the game is has so many factors, you're kind of always trying to improve on the same things. But those are some of the stuff we've been working on.
You obviously now will have to wait your opponent in the grand final in Badalona. Uh, is there any team in particular that you would like to go up against? And what are your thoughts on the three teams that will be playing there with you guys?
I think we've had a very good record against KOI through the past few years, and coming off a best of 5 3-0. Definitely think we would do pretty well to face them again. But they did beat us last spring, so there's always that chance. I think talent-wise, probably K Corp um, would be the favorites to make it through. But they are also first in the regular season. That being said, every time KOI plays against K Corp, they always play extremely well. Like they've had a good matchup into them. So I think with Fearless and best of fives and a big stage, there's a lot of factors, right, that could determine who we face. I guess it even could be GX, right? So, although I would assume they'd be the least favorite to make it to the finals, but I think we could face all 3 teams, and depending on how the Fearless goes, I think all 3 could be a good opponent.
Obviously, you've been leading G2 for 4 years already, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be your fifth year.
Yeah.
What are some of the toughest parts of being a head coach for G2?
Um, I think the good parts obviously is you get to work with very extremely talented rosters. Um, I think the toughest part is probably that you're really expected to win. Even you're like third or fourth place in a regular season, and people are all calling for people to be fired and kicked and replaced. It's very extreme, right? Based on your results. So I would say the expectation is probably the most difficult, but obviously we do well, right? So and we have very talented players, so it's definitely very worth it.
What is like the biggest lesson you've learned throughout these past 4 years on G2?
Um, the biggest lesson? Ooh, I think definitely learning how to enable each player individually. That every player I've worked with has been different. All the iterations of this roster have needed different things, whether that's how we run our days, whether we run our scrims, whether that's what champions we pick, whether that's just our approach in game. I think you really need to be adaptable to what you're working with and try and really maximize the strengths and positivities of everyone.
In that regard, has there like have you changed any of your habits or ways of working throughout the past 4 years?
Yes, yes, no, our processes are have been very different every year, depending on what type of players we have. Some players like tons of information and knowledge and meetings and like really strict understanding of preparation, where some players need to be less of that and be more free and have a lower pressure sort of situation. I think it really depends. We're very adaptable, and the way we're running things this year is different than some of the past ones for sure.
You mentioned G2 having the kind of the pressure of having to have always competitive results and high expectations. What's the one thing that you're expecting to see from your players this year, and what form, like what kind of condition would make you satisfied?
I just want to be able to be very strong in fearless best of fives. I want us to always have another tool. I want us to be ahead in draft phase and know how to execute in games. So when we go in best of five against Asian teams, we are ready. I think that's the main focus for us. We haven't gotten to play too many best of fives so far, to be honest. But hopefully when we get to play a few more, it'll be better.
You mentioned international teams. Genji obviously has already qualified for first stand. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
T1 is out. BFX and DK are left. If there's a second SK team that you would like to face a first stand if you were to go, who would it be and why?
I'd like to. Ooh, that's hard. I would like to maybe play against Damwon. I like the Showmaker drafts are always spicy. He's always playing crazy stuff. I think that would be very fun in a fearless best of five to draft against. But BFX bot lane is pretty fun to watch as well. So I wouldn't mind either. Sad no T1.
Have you been following other leagues? Are you like keeping in touch with other leagues as well?
I'm aware of what they're playing always. I think it's important as a coach to know kind of the sort of champions that are being played. Given we have such an intense schedule, I actually don't have time to like watch every game like I could when I was a fan. I would just watch every game from every region because it was so fun. So I have a like understanding and I'll watch the big games, but I can't watch all of them, unfortunately.
Next question is about Esports Nation Cup. So obviously it
Yeah.
was announced that to take place later this year. Obviously, being Canadian, if you were to become the head coach for Canada, just on a hypothetical
Yeah.
case, is there any player that you would like to see absolutely on your national team?
Um, well, it would be great to work with a Canadian team. I don't think there's any other real Canadian coaches in the major leagues, so I think I got a shot. But I don't know. I think our team is actually quite good. I think Team Canada is actually one of the stronger teams. We've like, got players like Jojo. I think I don't know who's actually eligible, but the eligibility base is on. But I've taken a look at it, and the roster is looking pretty strong. So I don't want to name my five-man roster because I don't know how things will work out. But we've got quite a few.
Is there anything that you would like to say or add to the fans?
No, just thanks to the fans, of course. It's good to see us, I guess, winning again. They're probably happier now. But just kind of hopefully trusting us to have a good finals and hopefully get some international games going.